We want to now turn our attention to our good colleague or former colleague, Jean Lipman Blumen, who retired after quite a long time serving CGU, 35 years of service teaching leadership and doing research on behalf of women and leaders. So I want to invite all of the Drucker faculty to the stage, please. Linda, please come up as well, Linda Perkins. Adjunct faculty, please, you're welcome. I know Roland's here, please come up. And other CGU faculty who I've overlooked who would like to be part of the platform party to celebrate Jean's success. Thank you. I'd also now, as the faculty are coming up, like to welcome David Drew, who's going to say words on behalf of all of us and to give full credit to Jean's career. So David, thank you.
Today we recognize Jean for a lifetime of achievement. I also want to thank her for a lifetime of friendship. Jean and I first met as graduate students together in the same PhD program at Harvard. She was a Wellesley graduate with small children. We've heard about a number of women pioneers. Jean was a pioneer. I suspect she was the only graduate student at Harvard who was a married woman with small children. Those very small children, I'm pleased to learn, are here today in the fourth row. Over the years, I've had a unique window to view her extraordinary life and career. What I have seen boils down to three words: excellence, integrity, and courage. The impact of Jean's work is incalculable. She consistently focuses on excellence in every aspect of her work, whether talking informally with a student, teaching a class, conducting research, or writing. Her work has had a worldwide impact. Several years ago, I was at Yale University and talked with an undergraduate from Uganda who was studying theology. I mentioned to her that she might be interested in some of my friend Jean Lipman Blumen's writings. She had read Jean's work, it had inspired her, and she was so impressed that I knew Jean. It was though I had said I knew Elvis. One of Jean's books was nominated for a Pulitzer. Another, co-authored with her late husband Hal, was named the Business Book of the Year. Yet another was listed as one of the 10 best business books of that year. The major professional organization of scholars who study leadership around the globe, the International Leadership Association, recognized her with a prestigious award. One indicator of Jean's visibility and the respect she commands, an indicator that wouldn't be available to everybody that a friend might know, is a series of job offers that she turned down after she made a commitment to CGU and to building a life with Hal in this community. Jean grew up in Boston, has New England manners, believes in modesty. I know Jean well enough to know that she would not want me to identify any specific offer today. Suffice it to say that most of us here in this room would have killed to be offered one of those jobs. Most recently, Jean has become very involved in working for peace and in peace studies. Nelson Mandela once said, "Great peacemakers are all people of integrity, of honesty, but also with humility." He must have been thinking of Jean Lipman Blumen.
We'd now like to invite two of Jean's former students, Cheryl Pedersen and Stephanie Van Ginkel, to the stage to say some words and present an award on our behalf. Thank you.
No pressure. Thank you. We are honored to be here for this very special occasion. When Stephanie and I received the call to honor Jean with the Lifetime Achievement Award, we knew our voices would not be enough to speak about the legacy of this brilliant and, if I break down, just bear with me, brilliant and beautiful individual. We could speak for hours about her, tell you stories that made us laugh and made us cry, question everything in leadership, and think in ways we never thought to. She has more than 3 decades of students that have had the honor to work with her, learn from her, and be transformed by her. So with that, we took the task to reach out to her students and share their comments of how she impacted their lives with you. We received comments from past students and teaching assistants, just like Stephanie and myself. We heard from students across all disciplines, including doctoral and master students from the School of Education, Psychology, Politics and Economics, and Computer Information Systems and Technology, as well as MBA and EMBA students from the Drucker School of Management. The stories that we received were thoughtful, and it is impossible to share every detail here.
Consistent among her students were comments of Jean's kindness and how she has impacted their lives as people, leaders, and that impact will continue into the future through the lives that they touch. Her past students shared that their connection with Jean extended beyond the classroom and transcended time, many communicating with her regularly through the years. We heard stories of ways that Jean touched their lives during loss, challenge, or trauma, and how her compassion and empathy helped and changed them. Jean's past students shared how her passion for world peace left a resounding imprint on their lives and that her commitment to peace is unrelenting, as witnessed in numerous discussions and her very own peace plan. Students recall her now infamous "Do Not Dare to Die Before You Read" book list that is as extensive as her course list. We heard how Jean encouraged students to wrestle with the reading material's meaning and importance of writing clearly. Students all agreed that she is a great mentor, pushing their limits and what they think they know. That in itself has changed their lives forever.
Rosita Fike shared that Jean challenged her to think about the characteristics of true leaders and encouraged her to emulate them. She also vividly described toxic leaders and reminded us of how that kind of leadership can bring destruction to individuals, countries, and the world. Scott Cuthan describes Jean as both kind and unrelentingly stretching, unwilling to compromise a single thought or value for the sake of convenience. He is moved by her extraordinary depth of knowledge and skill to challenge her students to rise and bring their best. Heather Dyer reflected on her 6-year-old son's friendship with Professor Jean. "I can think of no greater role model for Jack. She promotes and lives the values I want him to embrace, like lifelong learning, kindness and acceptance of all people, and that every single person must contribute to world peace."
Over and over again, students described her as an amazing and favored professor, asking hard questions and not allowing them to give up without answering them. AJ Tashavi shared how Jean's question, "Leadership for what?" stays with him even today and impacts the significant work that he does. Jean Holm reflected that Jean poked at her woefully unaspirational models of the world and took her class to a whole new level of applied learning, which has impacted her expansive work as well. Beverly Keefe stated that Jean, without any hesitation, is the reason why she chose to attend the Drucker School with a commitment to want to listen and learn with and from her.
Her students describe her as kind, humble, approachable, unrelenting, beautiful, compassionate, patient, empathetic, and classy with an unflinching drive for better work. Marquisha Spencer referred to Jean as a true gift of her education and her life. As with so many students, she said that Jean helped her understand the world and understand herself. She noted that Jean is the epitome of thinking critically and has a way of teaching by way of connecting to students' material, the past, the present, and the potential future.
It would be impossible to tell the stories of all those whom Jean has influenced over the span of her impactful, deliberate, and illustrious career as an educator. More than anything we can say about her accomplishments or her other extensive work, the hundreds of students, professionals, and leaders are her legacy. The lives they have gone on to transform, the organizations they have gone on to lead, the peace they have gone on to champion. She is a woman of connection and peace. This and so much more is the legacy of Jean Lipman Blumen. It is only appropriate that she receives the Lifetime Achievement Award because all of her work will outlast many lifetimes in the lives she has touched, changed, and inspired. And with that, it is our great honor and our pleasure to now present the Lifetime Achievement Award to Jean Lipman Blumen.
You're worth it. Of course we did. Here.
Thank you. Thanks, one and all of you. I know that you've all been here for quite a while, and you've listened to some incredible conversations and comments, and I will not keep you longer. I am really totally speechless after those kind words. Well, almost totally speechless. Professors habitually talk in 3-hour sound bites. I promise you not to take it. Okay. Needless to say, this is a very special moment for me. The stars seem to have aligned perfectly because not only am I being honored by this special award today, but today also happens to be my son's birthday, and tomorrow is my eldest daughter's birthday as well. So we are all being brought together from various corners of the world, again, by destiny. Happy birthday, dear ones. As a Bostonian, I was brought up by a mother who insisted on my writing thank you notes. And this is precisely that, a giant, decades-long thank you note to everyone here today, both in body and those in spirit, who have contributed so much to my life. However, as a Bostonian, I have also spent many sleepless nights worrying about how to thank everyone who has contributed to my life without forgetting anyone. Another Boston hangout. Trained as a sociologist, as David mentioned, I decided to solve this dilemma by speaking about the roles people have played in my life, rather than mentioning names, other than Peter Drucker, who invited me to CGU and whose legacy we legitimately and rightfully celebrate today. David Drew, my graduate school classmate at Harvard, who convinced me to accept Peter's invitation, because at that point in history, that was in 1983, everybody wanted to have a token woman, not a real woman, a token woman. It reminded me, I was working in Washington at the time, and it reminded me of tourists who would come to Washington and stand beside a cardboard cutout of the president and have their picture taken. Well, I had the feeling I'm not impugning Peter. I felt that's what the institution was looking for. But David called me one Sunday morning and convinced me that that wasn't true. So I did come with the intention of staying only 1 year, but you see, it was prospective students. I came with the idea of staying 1 year. It was so great, I stayed 35. And I really want to thank David, who has been my CGU alter ego these many years here, and also the late Harold Levitt, my intellectual collaborator and soulmate. In thinking about how I ended up on the stage today, I've narrowed it down to 2 types of TLC. Type 1 TLC is the TLC you all know, the better variety, tender, loving care. by more family, friends, and colleagues, including faculty colleagues, administrators, support staff, as well as devoted students, than I can possibly mention. Or we would be here, not for 3 hours, but for 3 weeks. I think of you all as my family writ large, and I shall come back to type 2 TLC momentarily. Many wonderful, generous, kind, brilliant people have brought me to this point by TLC type 1, tender, loving care type 1, beginning with my parents and sister, my late husband and kindred spirit, my beloved children, their spouses, my grandchildren, and their significant others, all of whom have come from far and wide today to share this day with me. And I also thank my dear Harwich Road family. They know who they are. They're here. These are my close-knit family, all of these people, my close-knit family, writ small and deep. When I moved beyond my kin, I also received type 1 TLC, tender loving care, from my 8th grade English teacher, much to the chagrin and regret of all of my students, as you might imagine when I'm editing their papers. My own undergraduate and graduate professors and mentors who set me on this intellectual journey, and my feminist associates with whom I worked very hard on women's issues, but I regret to say, when I look at the progress that women have made since I was in Washington in 1979 and where they are today, I am appalled, simply appalled. One small statistic, women in 1979 were making, in 1973, were making 79 cents on the dollar that men made. What do you think that number is today? Anybody? Barely. I've heard reports from 79 to 81 or 2 cents. And black women, 46 cents. Appalling, really appalling. So, and let's remember that yesterday also was International Women's Day. I've received TLC from my Claremont colleagues throughout the consortium and others worldwide with whom I've collaborated on leadership issues, particularly the ILA, the International Leadership Association. Closer to home, I want to thank our incredible new president, the board, our current remarkable Drucker Dean, and her predecessors, administrators of all levels of CGU and Drucker, and every faculty colleague, past and present, including Dick Ellsworth, plus my fantastic administrative assistant, the Hagelbarger people who feed us, okay? The physical plant workers who come in and clean my office when I'm not even there, and the campus security who walked me to my car in the dark after class at 10 o'clock at night, and the people who conceived and put this whole thing together. I am in your thrall. Finally, I would be remiss indeed if I did not thank my remarkable students and teaching assistants. And you saw the caliber of teaching assistants I've had. That's why I could be a good professor. And everyone, mostly former students, everyone who has been a part of the connective leadership that Hal Levitt and I started almost 40 years ago to try to improve leadership in organizations worldwide. I believe I have learned more from you fantastic students, including those of you who have Skyped in today from Japan, so I say hi to all of you, than you have ever learned from me. I am truly humbled, and I thank you. Now let's spend about 2 minutes talking about the other type of TLC, type 2 TLC, the issues that have brought me to this point in my professional life. Here, TLC seems to mean something different, something somewhat different. I call this, the T stands for transformative purpose, The L stands for leadership, and the C stands for compassion mixed with connectivity. More specifically, in Type 2 TLC, the T stands for transformative purpose. You might call that an ennobling enterprise, something that the leader or you identify that other people can participate in and derive meaning in their lives as they contribute to the world. And that goal would be would transform, if it were fulfilled, would transform the world for the better, even in the smallest degree, from a new slide in a children's neighborhood park to the largest impact, thinking about climate change, for example. Everyone here, I'm sure, has his or her own transformative purpose or purposes. For me, in recent years, as some of you know, it's been seeking paths to peace. First, through creating a web-based, open-source, connective leadership strategy for peace, which is on the web. And I invite each and every one of you and your friends to tear it apart, put it back together, make it better, change it. It really needs your help. So please, please think of that. And more recently, by working with students at CGU and administrators and faculty to promote what the students are demanding as a required course. Think of that, the students demanding a course that's required for graduation instead of the faculty and the administrators saying this is what you have to take for graduation. Because it is a course on peace, because we think and we hope that we are training decision makers of the future. And what we want is for those decision makers to look through that lens of peace every time they make a decision. This course will be unique in that it will be a required graduation course, and again, not imposed by the faculty. The students are imposing it on the faculty. They're saying to faculty, get your act together. Create a course on peace that's meaningful so that we can understand how to create and maintain a more peaceful world. At CGU, I also envision and hope for a Center for Conflict Resolution where parties with seemingly intractable conflicts can seek a rapprochement. Let's hope the world catches our virus, okay? In Type 2 TLC, the L, as I said, stands for leadership, particularly what I call connective leadership, which I think is sorely needed as we move into an era when the contradictory forces of diversity and interdependence escalate tensions, when diverse individuals and groups, locally and globally, inevitably must live and work together, we need leaders who know how to bring them together, not set them against one another, who know how to identify their perhaps very small, minute points of intersection and agreement and build on those. And technology is going to force us to do this whether we like it or not, because we cannot escape this interdependence that technology is heating up for us every day. In this frightening, terrifying, I think, historical moment, we're witnessing a dramatic increase in the ranks of toxic leaders worldwide. To address this crisis, we need more leaders who can bring us together to work peacefully and productively on crucial issues that affect every single one of us, like climate change, health, as we heard about this morning, education, race relationships, gender relationships, and much more. That is why I intend to devote my retirement, which some of you know, I put a hyphen in that. It's RE-retirement. That means putting new tires on an old buggy and going off in a different direction, Okay? So I want to train more leadership scholars, coaches, organizational consultants, and practitioners in our Connective Leadership Institute seminars in Pasadena, and that's what I intend to do, and finish my book on crisis and leadership, how to lead in crisis. And finally, the C in Type 2 TLC stands for a host of related factors: concern, compassion, commonalities, connectivity, that can lead us all to seek the big C, change in ourselves and communion with others who see issues very differently. As my son correctly reminds me, this requires empathy for others who espouse different perspectives and values. We need to view them with the same compassion with which we view ourselves. He recently wrote to me, we must embrace change and difference in ourselves and those who embody it. Where does this take us? I believe it can lead us to the great gift of Ubuntu, the South African concept that means a person is a person through other people. It is often translated, I am because you are. It is a concept of common humanity, of oneness. It suggests I become more what I can be because I meet and know you. And I profoundly believe that I am who I am because of all of you and the many students and colleagues I've had around the world. So perhaps Type 1 and Type 2 TLC aren't all that different after all. They both entail tender, loving care. Type 1 at the personal level, Type 2 at the group, even the global level. Thank you all, my family writ small and deep, and my family writ large. I shall never forget you. Stay connected. Thank you.